because
Okay,
before
right.
I got like very annoyed with this.
Let's get into the weekend itself. So we'll start off with qualifying. Actually, no, we won't even start off with qualifying. We'll start off with practice. Because in FP3, the morning of qualifying, we had Lewis Hamilton investigated for yellow flags and holding up Mazepin. Now, it's nothing significant, but it's definitely worth mentioning. The yellows, they said, were turned on accidentally. He was midway through the
I think no, he wasn't.
marshalling sector.
Wasn't he past it?
So he was midway through the marshal sector at this point, which is what they said to, let him off. And they were showing for under a second. This is why he got away with it. I'm seeing a lot of people saying,
I don't think he saw it. That's the thing. I don't think he saw the.
I don't think he saw it either, because it was only on the panel. It wasn't on his steering wheel or the rest of it. There were no physical flags waved either, and it was shown on the panel for under a second. So that's why he got let off with that. The Mazepin in practice thing, he got a reprimand for. One more reprimand, and he faces a penalty, because he's on 2, and you need 3 for a penalty. That one was fair. If you got a penalty for that, I'd feel like it was a bit harsh, but it's understandable. But they let him off because, blind corners and all of this, miscommunication.
See, it's very hard at these tracks, like maybe Zandvoort as well, like qualifying practice, all this stuff. It's very hard because, like, when you watch onboards and stuff, they're going and they're like 5 cars, like, slowing down to start their laps.
Yeah.
Like, that should not be allowed. Like, the last 3 corners, you should be told you're not, like, they're like, oh, you can't slow down in this corner. People will slow down, like, they pass that 2 corners and then they slow down.
You're exactly right. So the rule they introduced, they said, for qualifying was you're not allowed to slow down between turn, like, 20-something and, like, 25 or 6. The last corner's 27, which means they didn't slow down through that section and then they just slowed down before 27. Which was...
What's the point?
It was basically just as bad. Because then you'd see someone fast going...
Everyone around that part was just slowing down very, very slowly.
They were all part. It was awful. It was...
That's what I'm saying, like, you have to say, like, if Charlie was there, you would not get these many, like, incidents. Like, usually you get maybe one big incident over the course of the weekend.
Yeah.
But it was not as many as, like, this.
No, yeah. By one big incident, you mean, like, the Leclerc crash or the Mick crash or something? Or...
Yeah, like it's not even like a big like a big incident. It's like a normal kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Someone crashed, someone got penalized, that's it. Moving
but
on.
the shots are insane. Like, of,
I actually
Lewis
think the stewarding was a bit more consistent then than now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I feel like F1's
now
going
the idea, because Liberty Media are focusing on, like, let them race because they want the show. So they're putting... First of all, like, safety, like, of the driver, like the fact that he signed off on the track on Thursday, insane. They're putting off as well, like, if a driver knows to push a driver out, imagine if he pushed him out, like, in Saudi.
Yeah, if you're forcing someone...
If you're forcing someone out at, like, 300 kilometers an hour down, like, a track like this, I'm not saying... This is why I think safety should be improved, because it looked like they're just going to hit a concrete wall.
Yeah, in certain places, I know obviously they had a good amount of tyre barriers.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff
like a lot of other places they didn't.
But, yeah, and we learned obviously due to the accident with Grosjean last year. Yeah. You've got to be wary of all places of the track. You can't just put it in certain places.
Yeah, so I think like Liberty Media's focus now is on a good show. Fair enough, like Drive to Survive and all of this stuff. But no, like to be fair, a lot of people have gotten into F1 because of that. But I think they're actually like risking the racing because they're putting let's let them race. And then when they let them race, drivers are getting more and more outside. Like, I understand, like you're going to push the limit a bit. But what we're seeing now is just insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, seeing as we've got a lot to get through, we'll move on to not even the race yet. So, I mean, almost just like the race. I think we completed, 20 laps in an hour and a half or something. We're, 20 minutes in, and we haven't gone to qualifying yet. So quickly, I'm just going to mention, what did you think of Max's lap? Obviously, he was
Max's lap was insane.
3 tenths up or something going into the last corner.
He was 1 tenth up, and then 2 tenths up in each sector.
Yeah.
And then going into the last corner, that's the thing, he lost the back of it. But then I thought if he pressed on the, accelerator, and that's the reason he really lost it and he went into the barrier. If he'd slowed down, he'd have caught it. Yeah. And I think even with that, I don't think he would have lost 3 tenths. Like, I think he'd have lost a tenth and a half.
You think with the lock-up purely based on that?
I think
describe what happened in the last corner.
So he went in, he lost the back end of it, and then he's very adamant that he wants to finish the lap. And then, so what he does is, he's kind of skidding a bit, and instead of kind of trying to save it and then going on this accelerator, and what he does is he goes on the accelerator, and what happens is you get a lot of kind of wheel spin, and like the back tires. What happens is the back end just fully goes, and you can see it, like it just goes and he smacks straight into the barrier. Why are you doing this? Like, because he risked the gearbox kind of. If he got a gearbox like he would have lost the championship.
Yeah, not like mathematically, but essentially he would have. It would have been over basically. Yeah. So, it was a great lap. People saying it could have been one of the best. Sure, I'll agree with that.
It reminds me of like Lewis in Singapore, like
2018.
Because he did not have a car suited to this racetrack. Lewis did not have a car suited to that racetrack, and they pulled something out of nowhere. And this is why I think like people are talking about Max this year. I actually think he deserved the championship over Lewis, purely because this year, in terms of in terms of like those big drives. Yeah. Like, say Singapore for Lewis, or like these big drives where you see like the drivers they're driving incredibly. I think Max has had pretty much all of those this year, or like except for maybe one or two where Lewis, like I think like Bahrain Lewis did incredibly, they defend from him and stuff, and then like when he overtook an outside. It's incredible driving. But I think, that was incredible driving, that was incredible like overtaking pressure and all of that. And then there wasn't any like bending of a lot of rules and all of that, So, not bending rules, breaking rules, like, let's be serious.
So, I don't know, it was a good lap. I'd understand putting it up there. Obviously, he didn't finish it, so you can't say it was one of the best laps.
That's the only thing. Yeah.
And he did get a bit impatient, but it's understandable. I guess it is one of the only times he's made like a major mistake, you'd say, this year.
I think that comes with experience, bro.
True, because obviously when we compare this to Singapore 2018 Lewis was still, that's like his 11th year in F1.
Yeah, but he was also at that point, he was like
something. He was also like a
4-time world champion at that point.
So this is before he won in 18, so he would have won 17, 15, 14, and that's 4, yeah.
4 times. So he's a 4-time world champion. So like at that point there was still the argument he's one of the best of all time. So you're putting him in that bracket with just Sebastian, Fangio, Prost, and
so he's equal on championships with Prost at this point, and Max is.
So
he's almost equalled that essentially.
Yeah, but I think Max is now like, you can see a bit of like inexperience going into these two races. Has the pressure got to him? Is that because there is a fair argument for like the pressure got to Lewis in his first year?
Where
he beached it in China and just like. What are you doing? What are you doing?
That was really
so, I think the pressure got to him. But I think there's no shame in saying that, because like I think like even Lewis, the pressure got to him, and he just like he should have won that 2007 championship, if not for inexperience and the inability to not just deal with the pressure of driving an F1 car or driving an F1 car, the ability to win, is that kind of pressure of. I think with Max is a bit different, because Max has been winning. Max was gonna win the championship, and then out of nowhere, Lewis comes out of nowhere. He wins Brazil, wins the other one, and now he's on to the last one. Like if he wins, realistically going into the last one, he can win the championship.
Yeah.
And so now it's like.
It's tough. Yeah, there's definitely pressure on him now, but
mentally as well is very difficult.
Yeah. I'd say there's a lot of pressure on him. He does very well to hide it, but he's definitely thinking about it. And I guess his inability to adapt to the situation is probably something that's not helping him. Because Max, as we all know, is either 0% or 100%. And like
I think he's given 100% the whole year.
So
you can see that, yeah.
Sometimes you need to. Lewis said in an interview afterwards with the incident, we'll get onto it in a bit. The thing he doesn't mind doing is, avoiding the incident. Purely because he knows that he's saving his car and he lives to fight another day or whatever it is.
See, that's one thing that I think Max hasn't yet learned. I don't think it's in his being to learn, but I think you have to learn it. Like you're fighting for a championship over the course of 22 races this year. If he'd avoided Silverstone, if he'd avoided He could Monza, like, to be fair, he wouldn't have gained much.
But he would have
lost out. If he'd avoided Silverstone, he's plus 25 points right now.
And it would have been 8. Or the gap between first and second. Or are you saying Lewis?
No, he would have come second. He was 33 points ahead. Max was 33 points.
Okay,
Lewis got 25 points on that. So say with all of that, he only gets to keep those 25 points. He would have won the championship just if he had come second in that race. Because he lost because by DNFing he lost 25 points and Lewis got, I think, fastest lap, or Perez got fastest lap. I think Perez got fastest lap and took it from Lewis. But that's 25 points was just wiped out. And then Hungary is not really his fault.
No, you can't.
And then Baku, not his fault. Monza didn't really get much from it, to be honest.
Monza, as much as it was his fault, Lewis had the faster car, so he almost gained from that. Really.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say Silverstone, maybe Lewis was predominantly in the wrong.
He was.
But if he'd lifted off, let Lewis pass, came in second, you've lost a few points, but you've won the championship over the course of the season because you still maintained a 20. That was a Lewis, like a Mercedes track, but after that it was Red Bull, pretty much. So you would have extended the gap just by coming in second. You're comfortably gonna come in.
Or
second.
even if he didn't come in second, like, you can leave the fight going, just give him a bit of room, and I'm sure they wouldn't have penalised him if he goes a bit wide on the exit of that corner, because that corner's flat anyway, running into this, like, the Magus-Beckett section.
But I think that's one thing he still needs to
do. And I think as much as he doesn't want to admit that he needs to learn it, he did last time. Like, last time this happened, or not last time this happened, but last time he was involved in a lot of incidents for his aggressive driving. It was the start of the, I want to say, 18 season. Or it was either 18 or 17. He was in like 7 incidents in a row right at the start of the season. And every single one of them was his fault, purely because he's too aggressive. I remember one in particular. He dived up in China. The last corner is like literally 180 degrees. It is, yeah, literally 180 degrees. Like, second to last corner in China. He dives up the inside of Vettel, coming out of nowhere, taps him. They both spin around, and that was, that's just textbook, like, him being a bit too aggressive, like trying a bit too hard. But after that point, he had a very good year.
But do you think it comes from the way his dad treated him?
Oh, you can't say that. You can't say that.
No, but like if your dad leaves you in a gas station,
you can't say that. You can't.
No, if your dad leaves you in a gas station in a different country, obviously that's because you lost the championship in that karting, is gonna breed that type of desire to win, or to win at all costs.
Let's just say I sympathise with his character. Like, before, I was very harsh on his character. And
I was before I knew about that, yeah.
But after delving into the character of Jos Verstappen a lot more, I definitely sympathise with Max a lot more. And
I think that's where he got, because like if you don't win, you get left in a different country in a gas station. You're gonna have to win at any point, you're gonna do anything to win, include drive very aggressively. I think he's developed that style, and then going into Formula 1, he's just kind of kept going with it. Yeah. But he since then, I think he's tempered out a bit. Like, this year compared to last year, he's way better in terms of like. True, yeah, he's not as like dangerers. He's much cleaner this year than last year. There have been a few.
And in general, I guess he's a lot more cleaner than before. He's slowly getting there, realistically.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was the same probably, like, say, Sebastian. Maybe not like he hit people, but he wasn't exactly the cleanest driver. But with time, you kind of learn this. But I actually like his attitude of like that desire and hunger to win. Like, this is why you can always admire. Yeah, this is why I don't like Sebastian post like after he won the 4. Like, he lost to Daniel.
So post 2013.
Yeah, after he lost to Daniel, went to Ferrari, and then my issue with Sebastian at Ferrari is he didn't have that desire, that hunger, that like. At Red Bull, he'd do anything to win. Ferrari, he was just like.
So, do you think if Ferrari Sebastian was spun around in turn 4 in Brazil in 2012, he wouldn't have made it back up the field and won the championship? You're saying, like, there was no.
No. He didn't have that same kind of fight in him that he had before. I think that's why I don't want Max to become too soft, because then.
Yeah, It's understandable why people love him for the aggression.
Because that's the
it's entertaining.
It's entertaining, but at the same time, like if he becomes too soft to become like Sebastian, where he's gonna mount a challenge halfway through the season, just drop off.